Flamingo chef, show us what you got with cocktails and dishes that hit the sweet spot.
Hey guys, Bill the Kansas Flamingo chef. Have you ever heard of Trinidad style chicken? This is a take on Caribbean chicken that's one of my absolute favorites, and it's incredibly easy to make. It does require about a 2-hour marinade, so there is a little preparation, but it's pretty simple. Let's do it. To make our Trinidad style chicken, we're going to need a few ingredients. Obviously, first and foremost, chicken. Now, you can use whatever you want, but I recommend dark meat. And to make it easier, I just get boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Now, you can do it yourself. It's no big deal, but these were on sale, so why not take advantage of that? You're going to need about 2 pounds of chicken, give or take. And this is just about 2.5, which works out well. I'm going to need a couple of spices. So, curry. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of curry, but we're not talking about Indian food here. We're talking about island food. So if you can find Jamaican curry, get it. That's what this is. I actually buy it in a large yellow bottle from Jamaica. It's wonderful. We're also going to need some turmeric. These two complement each other. Oil. I recommend olive oil for this, but if you want to use vegetable oil or canola oil, that's fine too. Yellow mustard. It doesn't matter what kind. It just is to soak the chicken in. I just happen to have French's, so that's what we'll use. A medium-sized onion. Salt and pepper. I prefer fresh ground. Garlic. You can use whole garlic or you can use pre-minced garlic. It honestly doesn't matter because we're going to put it in a food processor anyway. Now, honestly, when you're putting garlic in a food processor, minced garlic works better. A little hint for you. Because this is going to take forever to grind. You're going to wind up having to run it through a press and then put it back in the food processor, and it's just a lot of work. We're also going to need some cilantro, fresh cilantro. Going to need about 8 sprigs of this, not a lot. And last but not least, a tomato. This one I just picked out of my garden about a half an hour ago. The first thing we have to do is prep and marinate the chicken. For this step, you're going to need 3 things. Chicken, mustard, salt, and a bowl that you can cover. So I guess 4 things. All we're going to do here is very simply, and this is why I like the prepped chicken breasts. It takes a little less time this way. I'm just going to put these chicken thighs, I said breasts, but they're thighs, into a bowl that I have a cover for. Okay? And then, after I wash my hands, now I'm going to salt these. And it doesn't need a lot of salt. I mean, you're probably talking about maybe a teaspoon by the time you're done. You could go a little more, but you don't need a lot. All it's doing is just breaking down the chicken a little bit. And I'm using pink Himalayan salt, but you can use any salt you want. It doesn't matter. And then some mustard. And you don't need a lot of mustard here. Probably a couple of tablespoons or teaspoons, excuse me, will do the trick. Now just put a cover over this. I'm going to leave it out here at room temperature because we're going to put the marinade on top. To make this marinade, I'm going to start with some cracked black pepper. Now, this honestly is to taste. I like pepper. And by the way, if you want this spicier, you can use a seeded habanero pepper instead of black pepper. But I have found over the years, this will get the trick done just fine. I'm going to cut this onion in half. In fact, I'll probably cut it in quarters. Just makes it easier to work with. Peel this outer layer off. And all of that will go into the food processor. You can do the same thing with a tomato and put the whole thing in there as well. You can cut this into sections just to make it a little more convenient. It's almost like you're making a salsa at this point, just not over the top salsa. Now we're going to put in garlic. Now I like garlic. That's the equivalent of about 3 cloves. I'm going to do that twice. Finally, some cilantro. And this is kind of to taste. So that's a handful For most people, that's going to be more than enough. It works for me. And I like to add just a little bit of citrus to this, but not very much. So, just a splash of orange juice. Everything in the food processor. We're going to put this in here and set it on chop. I don't want to make this mush, but I do want it to chop down a little bit. So I've got a almost pico de gallo looking consistency here. And what I'm going to do with it is dump it on my chicken. Fold this together so that I know everything gets some mustard and some of the tomato mixture, if you will, the salsa. Okay. And then I'm going to put a top on it. I'm going to let this sit and marinate for about 2 hours. Now you can marinate it at room temperature if you want to. I prefer to do it in the refrigerator. So put this in the fridge for about 2 hours. When you're about done marinating the chicken, you're going to need to make a slurry of curry. I know it rhymes and it sounds weird. It also is weird. You're going to need about 3/4 cup of warm water, your turmeric, and your curry. Now, for each one of these, you're going to need about 2 tablespoons of spice. That's a lot, I understand. So these don't have to be perfectly measured, but this is a tablespoon. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of curry in here, and also 2 tablespoons of turmeric. Now you're just going to lightly mix this together. This you're actually going to cook over oil, and you don't have to do this next part, but I'm personally a fan. I've chopped up about 1/4 of a yellow onion, and I'm going to cook that on there as well. Got my pan here warming up, and I'm going to put enough oil. Now, I'm using olive oil. You could use vegetable oil or canola oil. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan and just have a slight glaze. I'm going to go ahead and add my curry mixture to this. Now what you're actually going to do is start to cook the spice. So you just want to move this around every so often, and you're going to bring it to a boil, and it will darken up rather quickly. As it starts to cook and starts to reduce a little bit, then you're going to add the onions and cook them there as well. Again, you don't have to add more onions if you don't want to. I just happen to think it brings out a richer flavor. This part only takes a couple of minutes, and I promise you, your kitchen's going to smell amazing. You've got to move this, otherwise it will burn and become an absolute mess. If it starts to get really thick and you can't control it, then add a little bit of water. But the idea is to deepen the color here and bring out that amazing aroma of the Jamaican curry and the turmeric mixture. Now you can see what happens. It becomes almost like a roux. It starts to thicken as the water cooks off. And as that happens, it'll also darken a little bit. Now I don't want this to get chocolatey in color. I still want that beautiful curry color, but I want to cook it down just a little bit more so it starts to thicken. Now I'm going to add my onions, and I'm going to cook them down just like I'm almost like cooking Cajun food at this point, because I'm clarifying those onions. And they're going to release a little bit of their oil into that as well. Now again, if you don't want to add these onions at this point, it's not an absolute have to. I just think it works out well. I'm also going to turn my heat down just a little bit as the onions cook. I'm going to dump my chicken mixture straight into that pan, but first I'm going to add just a little bit of water to kind of bring this all together and make sure I don't have it all just stuck to the sides of the pan. All right, a nice thick mixture going on there. We're going to dump the chicken in. And then, with a spoon or a spatula, it doesn't matter which, I'm going to just kind of turn this together. I'm going to cook this over medium heat for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then, covered, by the way, then I'm going to take the cover off and add about 2 cups of water, turn it, and let it cook for about another 15 minutes. When the chicken is done cooking, and this is reduced quite a bit, is when you're going to make 2 decisions. Number 1, you're going to serve it over rice or potatoes. Personally, I like potatoes. 2, is it thick enough? Now, a lot of people like curry really runny, and that's fine. And if you're cooking it, if you're serving it over rice, there's nothing wrong with it being somewhat soupy. But serving it over potatoes, I want it a little thicker. So this is just a flour slurry. If you don't know how to make this, this is just flour and water, and you shake it together. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of this in here and stir that together. And that will instantly thicken this to just almost a gravy consistency. And if you want it thicker, just add more slurry. I am done cooking, and now it's time to serve. 3, 2, 1. And there it is. Finished product. Absolutely beautiful. Now you can throw some green on here if you wanted a vegetable of some kind, or even a fruit. I mean, it's Caribbean food. You can go crazy. A little grilled pineapple goes real well with it too. But it's a very simple meal that is incredibly awesome to eat. So until next time, if there's something you'd like me to make, if there's a dish that you have in mind, if you have a question about this one, all you got to do, shoot me a line, bill@kansasflamingochef.com. I'll see you on the next one. Eat fabulous.
In the heart of Kansas, under sky so clear, lives a chef with a flair, bringing folks some cheer. With a pinch of love and a dash of zest, he's the Kansas Flamingo, and his meals are the best.